Alright, the game we're currently watching is between Super Machine and XiaOzI. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I said XiaOzI in the previous commentary of this guy, and then somebody told me it was XiaOzI. I'm gonna go with XiaOzI. He's the orange Zerg at the far right of the map. This is Katrina, by the way, and Super Machine is the brown Terran. Now, both these guys are Chinese players. Only one of them's actually in China, that's Super, and XiaOzI is in Canada. Both of these guys very good foreign Terrans. Very good foreign players. Only Super's the Terran player, of course. And yeah, so duking it out on Katrina. Not my favourite map, but I am always interested to see Terran versus Zerg games on this map because they turn into be real macro fests, and I think it does favour the Zerg a little bit more. My reasoning behind that is that the distances between your base and the possible expansions for the other player are very long, and unless your dropship use is very good, it's quite difficult to take down the Zerg expansions, because what they start doing is putting up Nidus canals and camping lurkers around and using a lot of scourges, and I think it plays really into the Zerg's hands a little bit more. But we'll see what Super comes up with. He can be a creative player when he wants to be, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I mean, Katrina, I don't really feel comfortable on it myself as a Terran player, and I'm sure many other Terran players agree with me, although some people don't mind too much. Looks like we've got Super putting in a wall here, very typical stuff with Katrina, because you really want to secure your front door because it's right next to your main, and of course with the protected natural behind, that's what you want to go for straight away. And yeah, so that looks to be what, of course, XiaOzI is going to be doing, putting down a second hatchery straight before spawning pool, as usual, very standard Zerg play, at the top right position, which is his protected natural. Super's just completing his wall in before he goes for his own expansion. XiaOzI, of course, has sent an overlord to the 12 o'clock position to scout, hasn't found Super there, so he's going to be heading over to the 9 o'clock, and there's the spawning pool. Okay, so now it's Super's turn to scout. He's headed out to the 12 o'clock himself, hasn't found his opponent there. We'll be heading over to the 3 o'clock next to see that first Marine being produced, and that wall-in is complete. Looks like a fairly solid wall-in. I can't see any Zerglings managing to get through that, so Super will know that he's safe from any kind of 9-pool cheese or anything. Well, not 9-pool's not really a cheese, but any kind of early Zerg rush. And looks like XiaOzI is sending out a drone, possibly to scout, although I have the sneaking feeling he may be wanting to head it over to this second natural, the one that is not protected, and going straight for the third hatchery here. And meanwhile, Super's going for his own expansion at the bottom left, as you do. He's got his Marine nicely camped aside, so... and the SCV gets home just in time inside the wall. Yeah, and so XiaOzI is actually getting his third hatchery at an expansion location, so that's very strong Zerg play. I really find that's something that Zerg players ought to do, is just take the initiative and be greedy like that early in the game, because it's so hard, especially on this map, for Terran to go out and put any pressure on, because you know that Terran's probably going to expand. Even if you just went 2 racks, Academy, Refinery before Command Center, you can still defend this by just getting down a few sunken colonies, and as long as you scout well, you can always prepare in advance to get the right amount of sunken colonies down, or just get a lot of Zerglings, and you're fine. And the Terran player really has to sort of commit a bit too much, has to get too much of a... the Terran player falls too far behind doing that sort of thing, I feel, and I think it's very safe if you want to go for 3 hatcheries that way. And 3 hatcheries is the standard Zerg build. You may as well put your third hatchery at a close location if you're on such a map as this, that your opponent is very far away and your second expansion is very close. So that's what XiaOzI has indeed done, and I think it's going to pay off for him. He's already got the second gas going, I think, or is that the first? Not too sure. And he's going to be rocketing along with his economy. Yes, so he's only got 1 extractor down. The extractor at his main hasn't been put in place. And there's the lair. Always like that, how the Zerg players on this map always get the lair at the expansion location, because that's more protected than your main, interestingly enough. So no reason not to get it that way. Obviously, if you get dropped all the way back at the back of your base, then it's going to be painful if you lose your lair or hive, but that tends to be unlikely. I mean, it's quite difficult to take down those buildings, even with a drop shipload of Marines, because you can finally get lurkers or Zerglings over there to put them down, and it's not really too much of a risk at all, so I would definitely do it. Super now going for a Firebat. That tells me that he's interested in pushing out, and Firebat, obviously a very good choice. You want to supplement your army with Firebats if you're planning on pushing out at a stage like this. Because the Zerg player may get a lot of Zerglings, Firebat will definitely help against that, and that will help you put the pressure on and make your opponent a bit more scared. Super's lifting off that first barracks that completed the wall and moving over to his barracks area. That makes it a lot easier for you to click on your barracks later in the game. Very important to keep your macro up and to make sure it's not sloppy. In the meantime, just sniping off that Overlord. He's not going to get it. Another Marine might be able to come around from the other side and pick that off, though, so not the best position there for XiaOzI. I think he's possibly in danger of losing that. And XiaOzI is actually putting down 3 sunken colonies and 2 at his main. He's got that Hydralist in up, hasn't built a Spire, so he's gone straight to Hydralist in. You see that more often from foreign players, and I think that is something you see quite often from XiaOzI as well. And Mondragon, might I point out. So XiaOzI has actually had to be very defensive, and I think this is good by Super. Super's plan is not really to break these sunken lines. He's just making sure that XiaOzI is actually paying a price for taking the greedy build early on and going for that extra expansion at the gas location, because XiaOzI's got 3 gas very fast, and Super wants to make him pay for that by having to invest in a lot of sunken colonies and losing out on drones a little bit. And that's good. I mean, you're not going to see him attack like this. And what have we here? XiaOzI is actually is upgrading Overlord tech, so he's probably going for drops. And that's going to be very interesting. That's going to turn this into a very mobile game. As you can see, he's got Overlords already in position down at the bottom left position of the map. What he's probably going to be doing is dropping Overlords over the cliff. It's a very short range drop. Maybe even a slow drop, and he'll be able to put Lurkers right in there at Super's expansion. Now, if Super feels this coming, if Super gets an early scout out and maybe sees some fast-moving Overlords and realizes that XiaOzI is upgrading those drops, I want to see a bunker from him and maybe some tanks and turrets down at that protected expansion from him, because it is not going to be protected anymore once those drops start coming in. So very, very keen to see how this game plays out in the middle game. We have not seen any action so far. We really haven't. And interestingly, Super's gone for a quick 4 barracks, really expecting Spire, and XiaOzI indeed did not go for that. Super's actually coming in and taking his 3rd base. He knows the Lurkers are going to take quite a while to push across, so I think that's a very wise move. Get that 3rd base and a bunker going down. Another very very clever thing to do as well, to protect against that push when it finally does arrive, and you'll have plenty of Marines to hold off then. XiaOzI's got a double evolution chain going down, really looking to get into the late game, and or maybe even just hang around the mid game for a while with Lair Tech and make sure his Lurkers and Zerglings have got a lot of carapace going with some attack upgrades as well. So that will make the drops very effective if they get into position. We've got a couple of forces heading around the northern area of the map, just in position. That's not a large force. Super will be able to deal with that, I feel. Although Lurkers are running in now, and Super seems to be a little bit out of position. He doesn't have too many troops nearby, and if he doesn't actually send a vessel over, he's slow on the vessels. And Super's actually tried to scout the 6 o'clock and a related expansion there. I feel that was a waste. He should have just scanned that. He's got his troops out of position now. That's a bit of a waste for him. And Lurker's actually running in to take an offensive against this natural expansion, the second natural of Super's already. And I'm not sure why they didn't rush in a little bit closer. But the Lurkers have definitely prevented that expansion from going online just yet. The Marines are really helpless to get in there. Yeah, Super's been a bit slow on factories and tech like that, so he's going to have to wait a little bit longer. Those Overlords are nearly upgraded. They're heading over there in anticipation of actually getting that Overlord speed. Marines coming in now from both sides, flanking the Lurkers. A lot of casualties here from Super, but he knows it's worth it. He's got rid of the Lurkers. That means that he can expand now, successfully get that gas going, and move in with Marines. In the meantime, I should have pointed out that XiaOzI was taking the top left corner of the map, and this is the thing about Katrina. It's tough to take out this expansion once it goes up. And how's the Lurker tech doing? The Overlord tech almost completed, so let's take a look at these Overlords over here. Yeah, suddenly you see the Overlords start going faster as their upgrade completes. They are good 2 or 3 times faster now, and they'll be able to drop Lurkers and Lings all over. And I think Super will have seen this, because XiaOzI had an overlord over top of that mineral line at the second natural, and if Super was looking at that, and he may not have been, I mean, in StarCraft you're looking at a lot of different things, at a lot of different points in time, and he may have missed that, but if he saw it, he must know that XiaOzI is about to drop him, and he must know that he has some vulnerable points at the natural, and at his protected natural as well. And he's got the 2 tanks there, he's got a few Marines, but that's not going to be enough. If Super comes in there with a whole truckload of Lurkers, that's going to be tough. XiaOzI has actually dropped a Lurker just below that cliff. He's sniping at that refinery. Tank's going to get siege up. As soon as we get a spot off there with a vessel or something, he's going to be dead. And wow, XiaOzI coming in straight with 4 overlords, dropping off a ton of Lurkers, and these Marines are going to be toast. They're just shredded straight away. 5 Lurkers sitting there. They're going to uproot, I'm thinking of Warcraft. And wow, in the meantime, Super's actually come up to the top left and taken out the top left expansion. So very good play by Super. He's actually stopped XiaOzI's economy. So both players fairly even in economy. He's got his tanks coming in down here. So long as he doesn't lose too many SCVs, this is going to be a successful defense by Super. Super bringing